Epic Gaming Night is sponsored by Analog Gamer. Check out Analog Gamer for high-quality board game apparel. You can find Epic Gaming Night shirts and much more at analoggamer.com. This is Epic Gaming Night, a podcast about board games and the stories and relationships they create. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night podcast, a podcast about tabletop games, but mostly board games. I'm your host, Roy Candy, and with me, as always, is Matt.
Hello.
And Rob.
Hey.
He's engrossed in something right now. How's it going tonight, guys?
It's going great.
Did you just mess with his head, Matt? What's going
No,
on?
Rob's looking at the specs for trying to get an IMAX professional to come out and spec his theater room.
Oh, nice. So you can pay someone to, like,
Yeah, and
figure
they'll
out-
set it up, and there's I think they put in two 4K 2D 3D projectors to actually give it that big feel, and then they run all the audio and stuff and put in the chairs.
So they make it like
really cool.
IMAX, like the dome and everything?
I don't know that it's like that. It's just a really big screen and the same quality that you would expect from.
Yeah, no dome or anything, but my space is not big enough, but I would love one of those projectors.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Can you just buy the projectors?
I don't know. There's not too much information out about it yet. I just happened to stumble upon it today and was like, oh, look at that.
Nice. Well, this is a show about board games most of the time. So
But today we're going to talk about movies.
today we're going to talk about IMAX now.
I would do a podcast about movies.
Yeah,
I
man.
love movies.
Nice. We all love movies. If you don't love movies, you're wrong.
You don't love movies.
Clearly red.
I like good movies. I'm just kidding.
I like good movies.
But our topic tonight is going to be dudes on a map. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about my tiny little piece of news here that I saw. It's a interesting looking game coming out from WizKids called D&D Rock Paper Wizard. I don't know what all this game involves, but it looks like a small, simple sort of game that uses rock, paper, scissors mechanics. But it's D&D branded. Might be interesting. Who knows? What do you guys think?
I like rock, paper, scissors.
Are you the master?
No. But I've always thought it was fun. Especially I like rock, paper, scissors for tiebreakers.
Yeah.
But no, it's just fun, and I've heard of different places where they actually have tournaments, like rock paper scissors tournaments, and it's a really big deal.
I always feel like rock paper scissors is something you could get good at. So whenever I'd want to start a 2-player game, like a Magic match or something like that, and we're just oh, we don't have any dice, we should just play rock paper scissors. I'm just I don't know. I feel like if you're suggesting rock paper scissors, you're probably somehow actually good at rock paper scissors. So you're probably just gonna beat me. So I'm how about we make it random? Because I feel like you're just gonna look at me and be he's a paper person or he's a scissors person. Yeah. They're gonna know what to throw. Where they can see the micro expressions in your face and know exactly which one you're going for.
there is a whole math or science behind it where
if you do this first, you should go to that next.
Yeah. I mean, it's not exact because the game itself is random.
Yeah.
But because it's only 3 choices, I mean, it's like pi. It's an actual number. It'll just go on forever. But statistically, it's in your favor.
I heard the best way to win is to actually be truly random. So use an algorithm to make a random string of different things out of the rock paper scissors, and then just memorize that and follow it. So if you tie someone, they can't play off of you for the tie because there's a pretty big chance you're going to tie someone the first time. So if they know, oh, well, when people tie on this, then normally the next thing they go to is that. If you have the random string memorized, you can, each time you tie, you can just go to the next randomly generated thing. but I don't even remember where I heard that. Probably Jeff Engelstein said it somewhere, because he talks about stuff like that all the time. But yeah, good times. So
Yeah, I think it's fun.
D&D with rock paper scissors from WizKids. So that'll be interesting.
I would love WizKids though. Don't they do like a lot of expansions? So like what would like the expansion be like? And left foot, and then does it become,
Fireball
like,
and
does it
freaking
become like the hokey
You know
pokey?
exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be rock, paper, scissors, and you're going to
Lizard
have a
Spock
card in front
thing.
of you that is going to correspond to one of the classic D&D classes, and then that's going to give you special powers when you throw rock if you're a paladin, or so on and so forth. And then so you'll get like 5 base classes, and the expansions will be like, look, it's a bard. Here's an elementalist. And you're going to be like, whoa, $25, please.
What if you played a
$25 is
card?
not that bad. So
I mean,
What
for
if you
like
played
6
a card
cards, though.
and it like
Oh, man.
eliminated one of them? Like if I throw down scissors in front of you, you can't then play scissors.
I don't know. I don't care.
Oh man, okay, real quick, speaking of caring, I was thinking super hardcore today, like out of the blue. I just got done showing property to this lady. And like it wasn't in a scary part of town or anything, but I immediately went back to our version of the slasher game. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna make a prototype and we're gonna play it one day. So if I made one, would you guys play, like if I brought it to a Friday night?
Yeah.
And I just had like a simple sheet of rules and we just played it, and then we sold it to Emerson for $5 million. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah,
I mean,
totally
sure.
down.
I just don't think Emerson's.
I don't think Emerson's
Well,
got
I'll
$5 million.
split the proceeds with you, Matt, and then we'll give Roy a couple games.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll buy him Star Trek Ascension.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think I'm about doing that soon. It just hit me out of the blue, like, I need to do this.
Yeah, well, I keep telling Matt to make prototypes for his games. He's like, no, the rules must be perfect.
Well, they have to function.
Well, that's why you build
Yeah,
a
but you
prototype.
don't know
See
if
how
they
they don't
function in-
function in gameplay.
I absolutely do.
Exactly, Rob. The rules are
Well-
not going to function, especially the first time you play it. That's almost
If
guaranteed.
you know 100% that they don't function before you've even played the first prototype, then yeah, something is definitely wrong
Right.
with the rules. But you've got to be able to have rules enough, because once you start playing the prototype, you're going to change the rules like 10 more times.
That's fine.
Or it's going to be something like, man, this worked
But
on
if I could-
paper, but in reality, this just does not work.
but if I
Yeah,
can
once
look
you
at the
put in
paper
emotion
and
in
go,
people-
that's not going to be good.
What'd you say?
But if I can just look at the paper and go, that's not going to be good.
Or somebody
Right.
starts doing something and you're like, I didn't think about people doing that. Why would they do that? That's dumb. Well, they're people. That's what happens.
Are you afraid of like people's opinions, Matt, or?
No, it's just I started out with a very simple design and then went, hey, this would be neat. Hey, this would be neat. Hey, this would be neat. And now this like truncated cancerous thing sits on a page and it's like, I've got 4 billion rules. And you're like, oh, no. No.
Kiss, buddy. Keep it simple, stupid.
Maybe
Pretty-
take that as a rough draft and just completely start fresh.
That's what I need to do, is I need to just take it and trim it down. But I've
Just be
been...
like, okay, let's
I've-
look.
On
Oh,
what
that's a
game?
good
On your
part.
sumo game?
No, on the slasher game. The sumo game...
The slasher game. Listen, I'm going to work with you on this, because this was my idea, then your idea, now our idea. So you're not alone.
It is
We'll work on this.
Okay.
I'll Photoshop something up for you whenever you actually get something.
Because,
Yeah. So in the news, me and Rob are making a game, apparently.
yes, we are. Hey, listen, if people.
Let's
can
see. This
pay
has
other
been
people
going
to get in
on. They've
line
been talking
with
about
them-
this for like a year now. So
Hey, I've been writing my book for over 5, and I'm still not done with it. So, you know, I got this whole new chapter with. He's a bad guy. I changed his name so it wouldn't sound so familiar, but his name is Moy.
that's awesome. Like,
You know,
be the
how's it spelled?
antagonist. That would be awesome.
MOY. You know,
Okay.
I base all my characters off.
Does
of
he have
people I know,
spiky
but this
hair?
Guy, I don't know. He really likes music, and he's got some pretty cool leg tattoos. I didn't do arm tattoos in this guy. Just
I
got a
wish I
whole
had cool
sleeve.
leg tattoos.
And like the thing about this guy though, he's like the opposite of the person I know, because he hates it when he wins. Like he has a terrible time if he wins the game, because then he feels just like people are dumb. Like how did they let him win? And so it's just He's not a big character in the story, but I mean, people are going to remember Moy. They're going to know Moy. In the movie, especially, he'll have a part in the movie. His character won't get cut.
Nice. But yeah, we have a lot of games that we've been playing, or at least also, I know me and Matt do.
It came in.
My copy of Junk Art came in. Rattle, rattle.
That's the best
Also,
news.
something I didn't notice with Rob's copy, the box smells amazing.
The box does smell good.
Because it's made out of wood, so it's just like, carpentry.
I'm starting to pack my stuff. And like I'm
buy for the box smell, stay for the game.
I mean, hey, retail 75. Cool stuff 45. Yeah.
That's pretty good deal.
And do it now before the Asmodee merger completes, and they go, no, you can't sell for anything less than 70.
Yeah.
Yep, sounds about right. So let's talk about what we've been playing.
I played a big game of Mitten.
I don't even.
You guys know Mitten?
No. I don't.
You know the game where you have like the plastic thing, you have the rackets, and you're trying to hit them over.
God.
A lot of people refer it to badminton.
It's called a shuttlecock.
I didn't. Anyway, that was a simple shout out for AJ.
That's literally going in the podcast show notes, by the way.
I hope that goes in the podcast show notes. Can I talk about Quartz?
Definitely. That's what I was hoping you were
I
going to
really
talk
like
about.
that game. We played Quartz on Friday because, again, they played a 4-player game with 7 people. And so eventually people left and another guy died, and so we had enough to play Quartz. So I jumped in to play Quartz. Quartz is a really cool press your luck game where you are, I think it's like dwarves or somebody, just small Irish or Scottish guys, because the guy looked like a small Scottish guy with the big red beard and stuff like that and the red nose. And you were mining for gems, and you were trying to get different I think it was dwarves. It was
dwarves, yes.
It was dwarves. But you were trying to get these different combinations of gems, and you're trying to press your luck. Where do you want to keep going, or do you want to back out? And there's rubies, there's emeralds, there's diamonds, there's I can't remember what the gold one was.
Amber
was
what was the bad
right?
one? Yeah,
Obsidian.
Obsidian was a black stone. If you got obsidian once, you're okay. But as soon as you got obsidian for a second time, you lost all of your gems, and you put the obsidian as well back in the bag. And so you're trying to press your luck, trying to get out as much combinations of these different jewels without getting the double obsidian. You have different combos where if you get like 3 of a kind, you can cash them in and double the value of another gem. Or if you got 4 of a kind, you can cash them in and double the value of 2 other types of gems. It's not a very difficult game. Like we said, it's a pressure luck game, but it's so fun. Components were fantastic. It's the same gem cutout that a lot of games use, but real thick, nice, big plastic pieces that were clunky in your hand. They were shiny, they were bright, they worked really well. The cardboard and stuff like that in the game was nice and thick, really nice artwork on the game, good illustrations. And then it came out like these like little tokens, again, thick cardboard tokens. And then it comes with a nice little love letter size bag that you're going to put in all your gems. Maybe a little bit bigger than love letter, but that style bag you're going to put in your gems. You're going to pull out one at a time. A lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. What I enjoy most about it so far, and I don't know this to be true, but if this does come to fruition, I'm going to try to get it soon. I have to whisper that because like my wife is still awake trying to buy a house. So but the MSRP on the game is only $30 according to our friend Trevor. Now for me personally, it's well worth $30. The gameplay's fun. There are other pressure luck games, but the components are what kind of pushes it over the edge for me. But it's not on Amazon yet. That's typically where I buy a lot of my games, is on Amazon.
Yeah, because I think this just like had like its pre-release thing at Gen Con, so it's like a new game. So
in fact, I'm looking it up right now, and all the stuff coming up for Quartz on Amazon are not that game, but
literally Quartz.
But still a lot of fun. Really enjoyed the game. and it went
What
kind
did you think
of.
about the cards and stuff like that, like the take that and stuff with the cards?
Yeah, I really liked it. They were, and I'm glad you brought that up. There were additional cards where you're playing the game in 5 rounds. And if you're the first person to go out, there's 4 cards in the middle of the table. And if you're the first person to go out, like as you choose to go out. Now, if you pick up 2 Azimuth, or what was it? Obsidian. Man, I was completely off. If you pick up 2 Obsidian, then you don't get anything. You're just out. But if you choose to go out and cash in your tokens,
you do get a token that allows you to ignore 1 Obsidian pool
for the future,
which is kind of like a catch-up mechanic a little bit, and those are actually pretty good because they allow you to stay in longer in the future.
They did help me in 1 round. I was able to stay in a little bit longer, and it actually helped me win the game. But the cards were great. As you pull out, you have to take the cards in order, and some of the cards have, hey, you can give your obsidian to somebody else who doesn't have one, or just give it to somebody else who does have one. Or it says you can raid somebody's treasure chest, because there's certain treasure chests that if you wanted to hold diamonds or hold certain types of rocks or rubies or whatever, you could. And so there's a bunch of take that kind of stuff. I thought, like I said, a lot of fun, especially that Obsidian one, because Matt kind of had all of us like on the edge of our seats that last round. Like,
yeah, he had to take that card that said
who's Matt going to kill?
He could take one of his Obsidian and give it to another player. So,
and we all had one, I think, at that time.
And I was just like, I like bolted because I'm like, Matt's gonna get me. Matt will get me if it comes back around. He will.
Yeah.
There's no way he won't.
Well, like me and AJ were pointing at you, like, Matt, get Roy, like, because you were trying to catch up with me. Well, I mean, you're an aggressive player. Like I said, you're not that Moy is based off of you, but you remind me a lot of Moy, where you like to win and stuff like that. And so you were trying to catch up, and you were getting some good gems. And granted, a lot of it was luck too. You're reaching blinded into a bag, so you don't get to see what you pull out. But it was a lot of fun. We played. It didn't take very long. Cool box, cool artwork, not very big size. It just held everything very well. I was really impressed with Quartz.
Yeah, it's a pressure game where you will lose like your stuff at some point. Like I think everybody like busted, like because when you get 2 of the Obsidian, you lose all of your stuff. Your like little dwarf hammer breaks or whatever they want to say thematically, and you have to go back empty-handed. And that probably will happen to you in this game because there's a lot of Obsidian in that bag. But I think it makes it interesting because you get that little extra token, and then you in the future round you'll be able to technically like Obsidian will hit you 3 times and you'll be good. Or if you don't end up busting that round and you end up making it till the end, then you'll still have that token for future rounds. So,
and I love if you do bust, you put the tokens and everything or all the gems back in the bag.
Yeah.
And so what you think?
More Obsidian for everybody.
That's really what it comes down to. Yeah.
So, I'm not sure what the ratio to all the different things were, but it was amazing. Like some of the runs you guys were going on were just like amazing gem, amazing gem, amazing gem, amazing gem, amazing, and you're just like, holy smokes, they haven't even got 1 Obsidian yet. They're gonna rock this, and then they get 1 Obsidian, and they're just like, and I keep pulling, and I'm like, why are you keep pulling? Like I would be so gone. They're like, no, I just need 1 more. You get that? That's the way push your luck games are always. It makes you like a junkie. Like gotta keep going. Oh my gosh, need those gems. So
I had a blast.
Yeah, pretty fun little game. But yeah,
sweet.
That's Quartz. Matt, which game do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Cool. Well, I'll talk about this one then. One of the games that we played was London Dread. London Dread is a real-time cooperative game of Victorian horror. Basically, you're going around trying to solve these different case things. I think the one that we were doing, like we were trying to figure out like these weird murder things, and at the end of it, we show up at this attic and we're like, oh, now we have to perform this ritual that was left in this attic, which seems completely like a bad idea to me, but like it seems like the characters you're playing are all like super sketchy people anyway. So like one guy's like a freaking criminal who's got this like shady backstory, and then you've got the starlet who's all crazy too. Rob read like a whole bunch of the backstories on the characters and stuff like that.
They were really cool. But I actually like the criminal's backstory.
Highly thematic game, a game that's 100% cooperative, and it's like real time. The way the mechanics work is you have 12 minutes to do basically the like action phase or whatever, where you're like moving around the board and pre-selecting, you have these clock, and it's got different tokens for like the different areas of the board. Like you have north, west, east, south, and you can put a token with an arrow pointing the different directions to try to move that direction. You start in the west, and then you have to like move around the board. There's also like different sectors of the city, and then there's number tokens that you put to go onto those. So you only have so much time in a round, and you are basically in the game, and you have to set all that stuff up. But the main thing is trying to work together to like, there's all these dread cards that flip up. If you don't complete them, you're going to get more dread, which is going to make it hard for you to win in the end game. There's also plot cards that you have to complete. If you don't complete the plot cards, you lose the game, just straight out. So you're going around trying to get on these plot cards, trying to clean up all these dread cards, and there's some that are really difficult. So you have to figure out ways to make sure that your character is there at the same time as another character. All of these cards are completed by, there's different stats that each character have, which are all like different symbols of animals. So my character had like a dove and an owl, and everybody has like a wild card one, so they're a little bit good at like everything, but the ones that they have the other symbols for, they're even better at. So you're trying to like get your characters in the right place. It's this giant puzzle in real time. You put all the tokens down, you put all the things out, you're trying to like scream at each other like, oh my gosh, we need to cover this. Okay, well, I'll meet you there at this time, and okay, we're both good at this one, let's meet here at this time, and oh my gosh, I don't have that token, I can't meet there, somebody else go over there, I can't do that. So it's like, I'm going to be over here at this time instead of over there. So you're trying to work out where you're going to be at what time of day. Also, a lot of the plots can only be done at certain times of the day, so you have to put it at a certain point in your dial, so it makes it all frantic and crazy. And you go through the 12 minutes, you get all that down, and then the game actually starts from there again, where you're actually like playing out and figuring what you did. But it's not in other games of this fashion. Like there's Galaxy Trucker, which is a real-time game where you're building your ship, but then you just kind of see what happens to your ship. In this game, there's a lot of decisions still to be made in that phase where you're moving around doing stuff. Sure, there's times when you're like, okay, well, I just complete that thing. I do it. We get we cleared up that dread. We're good to go there. But there's a lot of things where it's like, okay, well, I'm a little bit short from cleaning this up. I have to discard a card off the deck here. And a lot of times the order that players do their characters in and the order that they actually like trigger like items and stuff that they have is very important in cleaning that up. And you're trying to clean up all this stuff, clean up all the plots, clean up all the dread, so that way it's not as hard for you to win in the end game, and that when you get there, you have a whole lot of the plot cards. They go to an investigation deck. You have a whole lot of this investigation deck to gain extra dice in the end game. The end game is just a difficulty check on dice that have a 33.3333% chance of success. You're trying to roll a specific number of successes depending on how high the dread is. So if you do better in the real-time part and in the like solving of stuff, then the game's going to be a lot easier for you in the end game. We had it where the game was decently difficult in the end game. We had got a few dice. We're just going to have to roll really, really good to get successes. And me and Matt were in here trying to there's a challenge deck. We were trying to go further in the challenge deck to be able to get more dice, because I'm like, well, I got a die, and Trevor's got a couple, like 3 dice, and AJ's got a couple dice, but they're like out of resources. Me and Matt, like, we're trying to get in there and like go. I've got like I'm unhinged, so there's these conditions you can get, but if you get them like a second time in the end game, you lose the game. I'm unhinged. Matt's injured, and I'm like, should we go? Matt, do you think you can make it? Do you think we should go? And we're like, what's the next card gonna say? Because you don't know. And Matt decided to press on a little bit further, and we're like, oh no, if this injures Matt, we're going to lose the game, or if it unhinges me, we're going to lose the game. And we flip over the card. I was fine. Matt wasn't going to be able to make it, but he had to roll a die. And it was a die that on 2 of the sides, on a 6-sided die, had a chance for him to get injured. If he got injured, we lost the game. If anything else happened, didn't even really matter that much. What happened, Matt?
I mean, of course we lost. Like, why?
When it came down to that
ever happened?
Die roll. So we lost the game by Matt getting injured. He basically got killed in the end game. And we're like, no, yeah. Matt! And we're all so sad, and we lost. But I don't know that we necessarily had enough dice to actually... We test rolled the dice to see if we would have won the game, and we kind of failed that too. But Yeah, we were like right on the edge. I feel like it's a game that you could probably get better with time, since that real time aspect is like so important, and like how you do the different things and where you put the things, like making sure that you're doing good at working together and figuring things out, can make you get better at the game. And I'm definitely interested in seeing more of the stories in this, because it's very thematic. Like, we had the app, and the app would like read the like prologue text to you, and it's got a timer, and it's got like sound effects and stuff like that. So it was pretty interesting. I know you didn't get a chance to play it, Rob, and Matt did get to play with us. What did you guys think of the game?
I thought it looked great. I really like the app integration with it. I like the effects of the app. I wish maybe the app did a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really
like
hard being spoiled after Mansions of Madness to think that any app's good enough.
Yeah. But I like the artwork of the game, and like you said, I read a lot of the backstories, and I thought the nun and the criminal were my two favorite backstories. I thought they were really cool. So yeah, just excited to play one day.
One day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay.
The real time, was that a little bit too much for you, Matt, or were you just like, because I know you're just kind of like, I don't have things in my clock. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do.
Well, it was like, my issue is like all of the challenges we had, it was nothing that I could really help with. So it's like I helped you for like the first 3 out of the 12 things I could do, and then I was like, I guess I'll just go around and complete things on the board. But then there wasn't that much stuff on the board that my guy could do, because I guess it was just like a really bad sort of luck of the draw.
Yeah, because when you put all those dread cards out, there's extra ones that don't go onto the board. So there might have just been skill tests that weren't necessarily suited for your character type.
Yeah.
But we also...
So I just spent a whole lot of time not doing anything.
Yeah, we weren't like super solid on the game as far as like knowing 100% of the rules when we played. So it might be like, oh, well, maybe if you could almost beat it, maybe you should still go there just to go there. So that way you could maybe draw a card and still beat it. So
yeah,
there's a lot of options that we didn't necessarily know going in. We also, nobody started with any items, and everybody's supposed to start with an item. So we were actually playing a little bit harder mode than normal. So I'm excited to actually start with items, because that'll give us a little bit more options and a little bit more flavor for the game. But it is an optional rule in the back of the rule book if you want to play harder to start with no items. So we play with that optional rule, which I did not want to play with.
In traditional Epic Gaming Night fashion.
Yep. Hey, but at least there's an official rule that says you can do it.
Yeah.
We didn't play it wrong. We just played it not the way we were supposed to for a basic game.
Hard mode. Like when we play Legendary with like 13 plot twists.
That was the worst.
Why not?
The worst. I was so mad.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that is London Dread. If you're looking for a thematic cooperative real-time game, I'm pretty sure that London Dread's pretty much the only one on the list currently that I can think of that fit those criteria. So,
and it does play kind of quickly. So
yeah. And especially after you play it the first time and know the rules and don't have to read through them a bunch of times. It's not that difficult of a game. It's just you have to learn it all up front. So, Bae, do you want to talk about the other game that we played? Do you remember, Matt?
Yeah, we played Cry Havoc and Let Slip the Dogs of War. I feel like that should be under like a little subtext for the game, but that's
and
fine.
What?
And Let Slip the Dogs of War.
Yeah.
But no, we played Cry Havoc. A good segue into our topic, Dudes on a Map, but it was Dudes on a Map. I don't really know how to describe it that well because I'm not good at it, but it was typical Dudes on a Map. We had 3 different factions that all kind of have different buildings or abilities or things they're particularly good at or bad at, yada, yada, yada. The map was kind of circular, so everybody had a good opportunity to beat each other. Senseless, there are...
Trogs! Don't forget to talk about Trogs.
Well, that's one of the races. But essentially, the point of the game is you are trying to control crystals, and every time a round ends, the amount of crystals you control will generate a certain number of points for you. There are other ways to get points, but that's kind of one of the big draws to the game. is to control these crystals, and then at the end of each round, these crystals will get sort of scored up so that you can earn your victory points and win the game.
Nice. It is like, speaking of asymmetrical games, this game is super asymmetrical. Like,
yes,
all the races or all the factions are very different. You have machines that are good at going around and just killing stuff off the board without having to combat them, but are trying to just stomp around and mess up stuff. Then you have the humans, which were more like area control, like they could control stuff like around them easier.
Well, it was just I have an easier chance fighting in sectors adjacent to sectors that I can control, because when I built things in those sectors, they would give me bonuses to surrounding ones. And then AJ's race was like some sort of worm man. I don't remember.
Yeah, they had like 4 arms. They're the pilgrims or something like that, but they're all about like turtling and like building up crystals.
Yeah, he had a thing that would just generate crystals, but he had to build it, and so you build it and then try to protect it from everybody else. So
yeah, to try to make you don't own very many areas, you don't have a whole lot of span, but you try to build up the areas you have to be super valuable, and hopefully defend them.
And then Trevor played the Trogs,
to great effect.
the home species on the planet. So essentially, it's a circle, but everybody starts out on kind of like a line on the thirds, except for the Trogs, and they start in the middle. And then anytime you expand, there are certain ambush tokens that are on the board, and you flip those over, and then a certain number of Trogs come out, and you're like, "Hey, look, we're fighting! Yay!" Yep. So it's pretty interesting.
What did you think about the combat in this game? Because that was one of my favorite parts of the game.
Absolutely loved it. It was great. Do
you think you could describe how it works?
Yeah. So the way combat works is there's a small little board that has 3 different things on it, and sort of an order of flow. So the top thing was like vying for control of the sector. The middle thing was taking a prisoner of war, and then the bottom thing was just outright killing people. And so when you go into battle, what you would do is you would take the amount of guys that you have in that battle, and the attacker goes first, and he places his guys however he would like in one of those 3 columns, or in all of the 3 columns, however he wants to organize it. And then the defender gets to choose how he or she places it on the opposite side. And so essentially what you're trying to do is get a numbers advantage in one of these things. So if you're tied for any of those particular areas, the effect doesn't necessarily go off. So if you're tied for the control the sector one, the control remains for whoever had it previously. And if you're tied for taking a prisoner, you don't get to take one. But there are all these neat
killing. I'm pretty sure people still die.
Yeah, you still get to kill people, but it happens at the same time, so you can't be like, well, I was the attacker, so I kill your kill guy, and now, haha. But that was something that was really neat, was that there are certain things that would allow you to flip the order, so you would start with kill as opposed to starting with control. So, when initiating a battle, a lot of people have different sort of war goals. So it's, I want to control this sector, or I just kind of want to weaken the guy, or maybe I want to take a prisoner because that will net me a point each turn unless the person who had their prisoner taken decides to pay me. So it's really neat. I liked it. It was a very good combat system, I feel like, especially coming from like other kind of big area control games like Forbidden Stars, where it's like, oh, cool. Well, combat started, so I'm going to go run to Jimmy John's and get a sandwich. And do you guys want anything? I'll be back in like 10 minutes. And then,
I'll go get by dessert that point, after that. And then,
and it's... But so, it's good. And then the other thing about combat is you have certain cards that you can play after kind of the dust is settled, where you can maybe move a guy from one sector to another to kind of shift all the plans, or like I said earlier, change the order of how things go. It's just really neat, all in all. Like one of the cards I would have would allow me to pull guys from adjacent sectors into the battle. AJ had one that allowed him to pull a guy out of his reserves and put him in a battle, and it's just real neat. Yeah. I liked it.
I think the combat system in this game is the one thing that really sets it apart and is the reason why it's getting all the hype, just because the combat system is very like the decisions you make in the combat system are very important, but they're not that hard to figure out. Like I like ones where you have to like think and stuff, but it's like, okay, I know what I want to do going into this combat. My decisions are putting them in these 3 different spaces, but all of those things are different, but they're also very important in different ways. And then the cards you have, I was trying to like build up combos with the different cards I had. I was playing the machines, so I actually had a building that would allow me to get more cards and place it on that building, and then any areas that I had combats with that match that terrain type, I could use those cards. So I get like extra cards to do some extra tricky stuff and try to make sure that I'm in the territories that I can actually use the cards with, because you can only play a card if the card matches that territory type, right?
Yeah, that terrain type that you're fighting in.
Type. So there's different terrain types all over the board, so you're trying to like make sure you're doing the combats in the area that you have the terrain type for, and when you're grabbing terrain types, you're trying to grab ones that'll match to the areas that you have, but also those have different special abilities or different values that they'll give on you when you're building up your units and moving your units around. So you want to make sure not to flood your deck with too much stuff that you don't need, because it's got a little bit of a deck building aspect also. Another thing that I love is that every single time there's a combat, another crystal goes into that area. So like when there's combat, that area becomes more valuable. So I thought that was super interesting too.
It's a good way to power ramp too, because what happened in our game is the game actually ended 2 rounds early because of how scoring works in that game. So you hit certain like milestones and score points, and if you happen to hit one of those milestones before like a particular point or something like that, it knocks like an entire round off. So that was the goal of Trevor's faction, the Trogs, is to try and end it as fast as possible, because they don't really win a war of attrition against 3 other people roughly, and it's not necessarily a 1 versus many, but he technically controls all the territory, and we're just trying to get a little bit for ourselves, and he's like, no, and then we just kind of go through. The way
Trevor played it sure felt like a 1 versus many, because he was in all of our grills.
He was. He did a very good job of posting up and keeping us out. It was pretty good. But yeah, that was one of the other things I liked, is that the game kind of has a variable amount of playtime, because if you go real fast, you can end real fast. You don't necessarily have to wait until like the end of round 6 where everybody else is super powerful and you're like, guys, I got a boat. Yay. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when the game was over, I wanted to keep playing it, which I guess is a good thing. I was like, one of the complaints I've heard about the game is actually that you build these cool buildings and things like that and don't necessarily get to like use them, but certain factions want to end the game, so you don't get a chance to use that stuff that much because it'll end up wrecking them pretty hard. So I feel like it was the perfect length. It was like really short. I'm sure the game could go a little bit longer if Trogs didn't stomp us into the ground, but it was a lot of fun, and it's gonna feel completely different depending on the side you play. Like, the replayability just from, like, picking a different faction is going to be ridiculous, because you play Trogs, you're going to feel completely different than if you play Machines. Then Pilgrims are playing their own little game over in the corner. Like, it's going to be completely different on the faction you have.
Another thing that I liked is all of the actions you take, unlike a lot of other games that have, like, a standard list of actions where you're like, oh, you can move, or you can do this or that. Like, actions are determined based off the cards you have in your hand. You can play as many as you want during a turn. And then they have little icons on the cards that correspond to what you can do. So you can either reinforce people or move or build or anything like that. But you can only do one of those particular icons. So it kind of makes for a little bit of strategy, because at the end of those rounds, if you're getting in combat, those are the same cards you use for combat. So you don't necessarily want to throw down all of your cards to move 5 guys when
you're about to have to use those guys to fight.
Yeah. So it's good. It's a good game. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yep. Cry Havoc. When are you playing this one, Rob?
Soon.
Soon and very soon.
As soon as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got it. I was excited to play it. It is one of those ones, because I am Dudes on a Map.
Yeah.
A fan, and so I had to go. I had stuff I had to do, so that's why I couldn't stick around to play. But
and I feel like we know the game now, so we should probably be able to teach it to you pretty easily. So
Yeah, it's not a complicated game.
Yep. And I feel like there's a lot of variety too, because you know the special power cards that we get at the beginning of the game that you can tap that does like a cool thing. There's a whole bunch of extra ones of those, so you can switch those out. So you have a different special ability when you play the game. And then also there's different variants where you can start with more of them. You can start with up to 3 different special powers when you play. And I'm like, why didn't we just play with all the special powers? That would be awesome. But yeah, so depending on the special power that you have can make your faction feel a little bit different too, make it even more asymmetrical. So yeah, that is Cry Havoc. We're way into this. Should I talk about the other game I played? I know you wanted to hear about it some, Rob.
I would save it because we're already, yeah.
Well, guys, make sure to tune back in next time, or maybe time after that, and I'll talk a little bit about Star Trek Ascendancy, which is awesome. 4X, pretty good stuff. Our topic for the night is dudes on a map. So our first question that I'm going to talk about here is, what is a dudes on a map game? Basically, any Risk style, Axis and Allies style game where you have areas, you're building up units on those areas, and different versions of this game you gain units different ways, and you can put units out different ways, but it's all about the controlling different areas on the board normally. Like, hey, I need to take over this area, or sit on this place, or spread out as much as possible. You got all the little people or ships or boats or whatever you have in your dudes on a map game, and they're taking over the map, trying to either hold down objectives, complete objectives, or just conquer the world. So, or planet, whatever. Or
world.
Or I'm trying to think of some sort of abstract
Galaxy.
Risk game you have. Conquer the helicarrier. I don't know.
I've got a lot of Risk.
But yeah, dudes on a map. It is probably, the fact that so many of these style games are in my top, 10/5, it's probably my favorite genre of games, seeing that I feel like my top 3 games fit into this style of game. So yeah, dudes on a map is pretty awesome. So it's very confrontational.
I'm a fan.
So what do you think about the genre and the mechanics associated with dudes on a map?
I absolutely love it. I love it because I love the plastic. I love it because it adds variety. Mm-hmm. I love it because typically those types of games have a lot of luck in them.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is they're going to be dice-based. I've played games of Risk where I should have completely destroyed people, or I've seen friends that should have completely won the game, and 1 or 2 guys just got really hot with their die, and they were able to roll and defend and stop this huge army. Mm-hmm. And so I love it, and I hate it for that reason, but I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite games. I like the idea of conquest and taking over absolutely everything, and games like this offer that more than other types of games. It's one of those games where it's like, you get to kind of puff your chest out a little bit, whether you did anything special or not, but you're like, I just kind of destroyed all of you guys, so. For some reason, I always like that tension, where you're sitting on the edge of each other's borders and you're just like, who's going to strike first? Do I need to jump on them before they jump on me? Oh no, if I go this way, then I'm going to be weak on this side and this guy's going to attack me. I always like to play these games super multiplayer most of the time, so there's people on all sides of you and all sorts of craziness. There's been a ton of different mechanics introduced to this genre. Especially with the newer games, like we just talked about with Cry Havoc, has diceless combat where it's all about the decisions you make in capturing things. What do you think about the dudes on a map genre, Matt? Because I know you like several of these games too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough for me to say because it's I like them and I like playing them. Mm-hmm. I just am intrinsically not. I'm adverse to conflict, so I'm just oh, cool, we have to fight.
Are you the turtler in that sort of game, or?
I mean, I think it really just depends on the game. Like Cry Havoc, I didn't mind fighting, and like
Well,
games
Trevor
like
deserved it.
Well, yeah, like I didn't mind fighting in Cry Havoc, and I like.
You like fighting in Blood Rage?
Yeah, absolutely. Fighting in Blood Rage is awesome. I like games that have very simple sort of combat mechanics, but can still like apply some depth to it. Like I've never been a big fan of Risk. Sorry, Rob.
Oh, that's fine.
But it was just one of those things to me, and I haven't played Risk in a long time. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just like you stack all your units up and you go, cool, this is what I've got, this is how many dice I get, and you roll die and then you hit on a certain number, and it's like, oh, neat.
Well, you don't even get all the dice. You get like up to like 3 as the attacker and like 2 as the defender, right? So then you're just using those units repetitively over and over and over, just rolling dice and rolling dice and rolling dice, and those units are like your hit points. So
what's a crazy strategy?
To outlast.
Is when you're hot with the dice as a defender and you only roll 1 die, because you lose the amount of units for dice that you roll. So let's say you have like 10 guys defending and you just roll 1 die, but you're hot with it and you constantly keep winning. That really ticks off a lot of attackers because they're like, roll all your dice so more people
It's like freaking Sparta with their defense strategy up in there, taking down entire armies. This is Sparta.
It's awesome.
Like, I've just never been a big fan of that because it has too much of a random element for me. Like, I prefer games like Blood Rage or Cry Havoc where there is, it's not complicated by any stretch of the imagination, but there is a little bit more sort of planning and thought that you can put into it. And it's also a very back and forth narrative where it's like, oh, I played a card, and you played a card, and then now I'm like, oh man, do I play another card? Like, what do I do? I don't know. That's what I like about it.
What do you think about the combat system in Rex, like the bidding combat to bid away your guys? It's also the same combat sort of as in Tiny Epic, like Kingdoms.
Yeah. I don't mind that so much. It does make it a little bit harder to sort of plan around because it's like, oh, cool, I bid 4. 4 people are dead, no matter whether you win or lose.
Yeah.
I also think that's interesting when you have like a massive amount to their like little amount. Like you're gonna win. You just know you're gonna win. It's like there's no guessing. Like I spend this much, I spend more than they can spend. It's the same thing in Scythe. So
and it's like I like that. I don't necessarily like Rex, but I like that aspect of the combat at the very least. So
I like it and I don't like it. I don't like it for the reasons of what you just said. You know the one person's going to win. The plus side of that is, I would say 75+% of the time, people are going to spend, like if I have 10 guys and you have 2, I'm going to make sure I spend at least 3 to beat your 2 so we don't tie. Yeah. And so the plus side of that is I know as a defender, I'm at least going to take out 3 of his 10 units to help me in the future. But at the same time, it does come down. It's not so much luck.
Yeah.
And sometimes games like Rex, for example, when you have the ship that's floating around, like you could just get screwed really hard in that game and it not really be your fault. And then you're getting jumped on by other people and you never had time to recover depending on what cycle the ship is on and other stuff. So I like it. I just prefer and I hate it. Depends on what mood I'm in and how nice the dice are treating me. But
you like more randomness?
I prefer. Well, yeah, it just gives people a shot. I mean, it gives you a chance when you shouldn't have a chance.
Right.
That 10 army versus that 3 army has a chance with dice.
I really like the dice combat in Twilight Imperium where you build up the ships, but they all have different values. So it's like I have this guy, he has this chance to hit, and I have this guy, he has this chance to hit, but I also have this guy who has this special ability, which is good against the little guys. And technically the little guys could take out a lot of stuff, but if you have an overwhelming force, you're going to have way more dice to chuck. So,
which blows my mind that you don't like Axis and Allies because
I've never played Axis and Allies. Axis and Allies, I've never played purely on the theme because I'm just like, meh.
Well, that's how you do the combat in Axis and Allies. The infantry hit on X dice, the tanks or artillery hit on X, the planes and whatnot. And
honestly, I'd probably like the game because I've heard that it's similar to like the Twilight Imperium sort of stuff.
Well, and it's a 4X game. It is a World War II 4X game. You have to expand, you have to explore, you have to exploit, and you have to exterminate.
Make it fantasy. Make it space. I am like the basic nerd. Like I'm not like a history nerd at all. I'm like basic. Give me superheroes, space, and fantasy. So I don't know.
It's all right.
That's probably terrible. And people are probably like, oh my gosh, there's way too many of those games. But like, when somebody comes out with a really cool looking fantasy game, I'm like, I've got a shelf full of fantasy games that'll fit right on it. Like, I don't know. But whenever it's like, my dad is all about historical war games, all about like B-52 bombers and like, oh my gosh, this is the Civil War and all this stuff. And I'm just like, but that was real, and like real people died.
I know, and you get to relive history and try to change history and stuff like that. Like, I like it all. I'm with you. I like the fantasy and the medieval and the space, but I also like the history and learning and seeing what could have happened, what would have happened, So.
Nice.
Were you saying something, Matt? I have a really bad.
Oh no, I was gonna say, but you kind of diverged from the point. What I was
I'll
gonna
go back
make.
to it.
But I was gonna say I also like games like Blood Rage and Cry Havoc more than games like Rex with the bidding mechanic, because like what you say, it is one of those things where it's like once you know, it takes a lot of the fun out of it. So it's like I don't like dice because they're too random, but I also don't like bidding because it's too like Euro-y and too calculated for me.
Right. Well,
so it's like that whole
like,
thing.
I like all the other stuff that's added into those games too, like
Yeah.
the traders and the paper rock scissors mechanic, and like the cool different weird special abilities you might play. Like this gives me a +3, but this kills your leader, which takes out the. I just like that, and there's special races that let you ask questions and stuff like that. Like, oh, which weapon are you using? Cool, you're not gonna kill my leader this time. So I don't know, it's fun.
Yeah.
Do you like the blind bidding of Blood Rage, where you really don't know what people are putting in and stuff like that? Because it's a bidding mechanic.
It is, but in Blood Rage, I feel like there's a whole lot less of an impetus for like your risk, because you go in and it's like, oh, if you lose, everybody dies.
Do you draft attack cards, Matt, in Blood Rage?
Yeah.
I always just see you like at the
typically
end of
get two
rounds just being like, I ain't got nothing. Guys, I ain't got nothing. I'm going with these guys. If you
Yeah,
play a card,
I
I
mean-
lose. Like every single time we play that game, it seems
But
like you're
with
doing that.
with his strategy, every time he doesn't need him because he's got like 90 dudes on a
But
map.
then you're like, and I die, and I move this guy over here. Yay!
Yeah, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, this guy invades and he brings a friend, and then those two get smashed. And hey, guess what? There's 4 more people on the board. Hey, like my goal is to get every plastic piece I have into Valhalla. Just
Matt wants to turn his army into slimes that when you slice them, they multiply. And then you slice them again, and then they multiply exponentially.
Here's my issue with Blood Rage. So you say, oh man, do you draft attack cards? But at the same point, like my goal is to get everything into Valhalla, but I am almost always one of the only people with stuff left on the board, and I'm just going, man, I messed up because so much more stuff should have died and it didn't.
Yeah.
And it's just real sad for me.
My strategy,
Blood
like
Rage.
this might be bad to say, but my strategy is to always like
Take
recruit
quests.
Get objectives.
one, like always take quests, but always get like one really strong attack card. So it's that way you can know, like especially if you play it late in the round. If you play it late in the round, you can know that you're gonna win the battle. It's like I'm pretty sure like this strategic one that's gonna get me this quest that I need, I'm gonna win because I've been holding on to this one attack card. And now that I said that, I'm never gonna win a game of Blood Rage again.
I always
No, because last time I tried to beat you, and I think the whole game I only drew 2 objective cards.
Yeah.
Like, because I had a great strategy, I just couldn't draw objective cards.
Probably should draw objective cards. I'm just kidding.
Wait, when they don't come, you can't win, and that was.
And they're called quest
But it's
cards.
part of the draft. Quest cards, but that's part of the draft.
Yeah.
Have
I mean,
you
I
guys
don't
seen-
mind it
What?
as much because there's not so much permanence to Blood Rage.
I just love the game. I mean,
Oh
win
yeah,
or lose,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a good time.
Oh
Have
my
you guys seen
goodness.
what Eric Lang's been tweeting about Rising Sun?
No.
Bro, he's like he can't cut any more fat from it, and the he said this he's got it down to about 2 hours each a game. Like that's the shortest he's been able to get it
Per player?
And he's like,
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
no, but he's like he's talking about how it compares to Blood Rage and other stuff, but how it's its own thing and how he's super pumped for it.
I think
Nice.
didn't he also say it plays 6, right?
I don't know that. I
Five,
wasn't at the,
5 or 6. It was one of the things I remember seeing somewhere.
Hold on, it'll be 5, but then if you kickstart it, it'll be 6.
That's fine
Probably.
because they'll sell the 6-player expansion.
But you'll also kickstart it because you told me to tell you when it comes out
Yeah,
in Kickstarter.
no, for sure.
Yeah,
This is gonna be
it's
good.
so good.
Nice.
Anyway,
I know we've gone way past this at this point, but what are a few games you can think of that fit into this genre? Twilight Imperium-ish.
List off what I wrote down thus far.
Yes, War of the Ring.
Star Wars Rebellion. Summoner Wars is actually dudes on a map, even though
It feels
they're
more
cards.
miniatures-ish.
But you're spawning a bunch of people on a map. Gears of War, Level 7 Omega Protocol, Fortress America, Battle of Five Armies, Kemet, all of the zombie sides, Rum and Bones.
See, when you start getting into cooperative games, it feels like something completely different.
Small World, Battle of Westeros, Battlelore Edition, Star
Game of
Trek,
Thrones.
Game of Thrones, Axis and Allies. I mean, I've Conan the Barbarian, Forbidden Stars, even. I mean,
Ships on a map.
yeah, there's just a bunch of I could keep going. Thief, even though I haven't played it yet, I want to play it so bad.
Warrior Knights.
Oh man, I want to get that. I really want to get Warrior Knights. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of in a way, Dead of Winter. Kind of, because if you have that one guy,
Rob, cooperative games that you're not fighting over areas don't count.
No, but there's always that one guy who has like 9 survivors, and there's that one other guy who's got 1 because his best survivor died because he rolled the tooth.
This is gonna be another one of those episodes where everybody tells me that my co-hosts are wrong. It keeps happening.
No.
I mean, it's fine.
I get the private emails saying, "Hey, man, I agree with what you said." I'll get the private tweets.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I literally had people come up to me at Gen Con that said I needed to teach my co-hosts what asymmetrical means. I said, I tried. Didn't you listen to the podcast? I tried.
Well, I mean, I can show them that a square is symmetrical. And that anything that isn't, never mind.
Let's not do this. Yeah, so
Just
what is your favorite mechanic that you've seen added to a Dudes in a Map game? Like what makes the Dudes on a Map is basically like you have the units on the board and area control. Because there's so many different versions of this game that have like a specific kinds of mechanic. What really makes you enjoy that? Yeah.
Dice.
Which is interesting to say because your favorite version of these games doesn't have dice.
What do you mean?
Game of Thrones used to be your favorite game, but it has 0 dice.
But I would not put Game of Thrones for me as Dudes on a Map because, I mean, it is classified
100% Dudes on a Map.
No, it is. But I'm just saying, like, if I'm thinking of Dudes on a Map game, Game of Thrones is not one of the first games that pop into my mind. Gotcha. I think of it more like Dudes on a Map is dice chucking, throwing stuff around, having fun. It's not so much strategy as it is strategy.
Well, that just sounds like you're really describing Ameritrash.
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, that's a lot of my games are Ameritrash, but they're also a lot of that. Game of Thrones, to me, is a lot of diplomacy. It's a lot of strategy of what you can do in your own stuff.
But it's very much about getting your guys onto the board, going over and controlling the areas.
But then you're limited on how many guys you can get on the board, and so do you upgrade your guys. I mean, it's Game of Thrones is just so amazing. It's just got a lot going to it. I don't know. I want to classify it.
I mean, I would categorize it as area control, but pretty much every game in this genre is an area control game.
Yeah, that's Dudes on a Map.
No, it's area control.
I know, but I mean, there are area control games that are not Dudes on a Map.
Yep.
But almost all games I would consider Dudes on a Map are area control games.
Yeah. So. That's why I would say it's area control.
Out of all the times you've ever played Game of Thrones, have you ever seen an army to run out of pieces? No. It doesn't happen that way.
Run out of the different guys? I run out of knights every time I play that game. Like, I really want to get more knights on the board, but I've run out of knights. I mean, you get to choose which type of unit you build. You get to try to go in and sneak in.
And you can upgrade units and stuff like that. Yeah.
You can see it, Rob. You can see it.
I see what you guys are saying. It's just, to me, I don't think of it.
For me, I really love games that actually have, like, the resource management aspect added into the game, I really enjoy like collecting resources and then picking different types of units to like purchase and buy. Like when I play a Dudes on a Map game, it's fun to like be like, okay, well I'm expanding and I've got like these things that I'm building up or like these different resources, and then choosing in between a different option of units to be able to get out there. Like Twilight Imperium is huge with that. And then Eclipse also has it where you're building different types of ships. And then Nexus Ops, you're going around trying to get all the little jewels, and you get to pick which type of creature you're going to build. I think that sort of stuff's really fun, where you're gathering the resources and then spending them on building your army. So that's probably my favorite mechanic.
Do you ever get excited when you're playing, and this is kind of mean, but it's not. Do you ever get excited when you play games like that and you completely crush somebody's economy?
I mean, it feels like it's definitely smart to go after those points, you know?
I mean, it's like a bad happy feeling.
I
but
feel more
get
happy when
time.
like I feel like I've started off better and my economy is like really good. Like I have tons of resources coming in and I'm just like, yes, money. And probably how Matt felt the last time he played Twilight Imperium, when he's just like, I got stacks and you guys are poor.
Yeah, still didn't help, but you know, it's there.
It's just fun to have all these resources to be able to spend in different ways.
Yeah.
And not necessarily just on units, like upgrading technology, upgrading all those things is a lot of fun too. But it depends on how complex the Dudes on a Map game you want to be. So. But yeah, so what about you, Matt? What do you think is your favorite mechanic to be added to this style of game?
I mean, I kind of already talked about it. I think it's the way that like combat and like Blood Rage and Cry Havoc work, and that it's sort of card based and it's a little bit of luck and a little bit of strategy, but it's not hard one way or the other. So it's not just completely up to the luck of the draw, and it's not one of those things where with enough calculator I can win every time. I don't know.
It makes you try to like think about your opponent and what they're going to do. Like, is this a location they're actually going to go after? It makes it a little bit social, you know? So it's like trying to get into your opponent's head a little bit.
Turns it into a social deduction game. It's fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what mechanic haven't you seen in one of these games that you would like to see added to this genre of game?
I can go ahead and say mine, since I don't know a whole lot of games, and you guys are going to tell me, nope, that's already in, and list the game off.
I mean, it's totally fine.
I would like to see some form of like hidden movement for things. Yeah, cool. So like either like a particular unit that remains invisible that like you keep track of somewhere else, or some sort of like ambush thing that you have.
I feel like that has to be somewhere. But I don't know. Like somebody online will be like, that's in this game specifically, but I don't know.
It's like if you had a game where like
you could send out spies or something to go sabotage
Rising Sun would be a great game to do this with, because you could have like ninjas that could be on the board and part of a battle, and then you don't know about it, and you're like, cool, and I played this card for combat, and you're like, oh man, I win, and you're like, but ninjas, and they're like, no,
and like, you have like on your little sideboard.
Yeah. Or just like something like that, or
it's like, there's only one little guy there. I'll attack that area, and you're like, oh look, but my board here says that there's ninjas.
Yeah, or like it would be neat if like Game of Thrones had like an ambush sort of thing. So like you had more tiles that you could lay down on the board that might stay a bit between rounds, and then if somebody moves into that, and they're like, okay, well, what's that tile? Is it just like gain resources, or just pillage, or maybe kill off one of my guys? And you're like, no, it's like an ambush, and then like 3 guys show up, and you're like, oh, this was a bold move on my part that might fail. I don't know. I think something like that would be pretty interesting.
I love that idea.
It's not like truly hidden movement, but it's very deceptive in its sort of board control stuff. So it's not so much all the dudes are on the map. There's a bunch of dudes that are on the map, and then there's a bunch of dudes that you can't see who are just like running the secret underground tunnels under Vietnam, and they're like, "Hi, how you doing? We're here." It's like, oh, good.
I know there's a lot of like old school war game type stuff that has a lot of those like face down tokens that when they're moving around the board, you don't get to see what they exactly are. It could be like, oh, that's just a decoy coming in, or holy crap, that's a stack of tokens that's like an army. So they've got that sort of stuff, but not ones where it's like secretly like.
Yeah,
I think that's a great one.
That's what I pick.
Rob picks the same
No,
thing.
well, yeah, I absolutely love that idea. I never thought about it. This was a really tough question for me because I didn't honestly know how to answer it.
Yeah,
Because I don't
there's
know.
so much been done because this genre is
There,
huge.
there is everything. I mean, there's the economy and the diplomacy and everything, but that whole hidden movement, secret thing, I like that. The only other thing that I like that I'm starting to see implemented a little bit more is like in Star Wars Rebellion, where you see your army being built in phases. You know how it comes down the ladder, like you put your ships off to the side and they go into tier one, two, three, or four. I think I really like that. It helps you plan for the future. Um, because it's already being built. You already paid for it. It's already happening. You just got to wait for that to happen.
It's really cool
But I
too because
really
there's special like missions that can go in and like sabotage those things and destroy some of them off of the build track too, which is pretty fun. Very thematic.
But that idea of the hidden movement, like, I don't
Rob's
know,
like
man.
that needs to happen.
Well, you know how cool that would be for that exact reason. Like, yeah, just one guy here and then ninjas.
Yeah. And it's like you wouldn't necessarily get a whole lot, but it's like even if you just go, oh,
No,
cool.
but they're like a specialty unit or something
Yeah.
or whatever. Just even if they're not, even if they're Podunk, Billy Bob and Terry, catfishing in the pond hole or something, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that you didn't know about that you couldn't plan for.
Yeah.
Like, I really like that, Matthew Robbins.
Well, thank you.
That was really good.
What do you think about
That
like,
was a badminton moment.
what do you think about a social deduction element added into one of these? Do you think that could ever work? Like there's teams, but you don't necessarily know who's on what team. It's kind of like you already have like predetermined alliances, but then you have to figure it out as the game goes along.
I think
Isn't
that
that
would
called
work.
Rex?
I think that would work in a different way. I think it would be cool if you played like a 4-person game where like each person was a faction, but you played it with 8 people, so you had 2 people on each team, and then so
Right.
they sort of subdivided things and then did stuff.
But you
and
didn't
then it's
know
like,
who each other's teams were until you played?
no, like you're on the teams, but there might be a small chance that like your teammate is actually like a traitor and works for like a different person. So you have like loyalty and identities that then pair to different people on the board. I don't know how that would work, but it would just be neat if you had like a president and then like the FBI director on each team, and then like one of them does like one thing, and then one of them controls like something else. So like one runs the economy and one runs like the board maintenance and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to figure out like what theme would best match that kind of mechanic. Like,
I don't even know that it would work. I don't know that it would be balanced. I don't know that it would be fun. I
but
just
it's
think,
definitely interesting to think about.
yeah, like when you said that, that was immediately what I thought of. Is something like how like that game that Trevor played where he built the moon base is essentially 5 people getting together.
Moonbase.
Yeah, talking about doing things, and then it's like, oh, cool. Well, this guy might have got captured by this, or might have been flipped over here. This agency might be paying this guy a little bit like extra per turn to kind of get some stuff through. And I think it would be interesting to see something that's that large and kind of variable in scope, but on like a smaller board game format.
It's awesome.
This is good stuff.
Yeah.
So you didn't have any other ideas, Rob? You think it's a played out genre?
No, because I like it. I just want more of it. I mean, I really like the idea of the hidden movement thing, the social deduction thing. I like the
would
idea
think
of
the game
maybe
would have to
traitor
be-
if you're playing teams, but I don't know how I feel about the whole thing as a whole. But I like the hidden movement.
It'd have to be a
cards
shorter
down.
game, I would think. Somehow.
Well, like, to me, what you guys were describing reminds me a lot of Rex. Like, there were alliances, but there weren't alliances. And then at the end, I screwed over my alliance and I won the game. Like, so it was kind of that way. And
I just
it
want like
was
people to be dealt out
social
cards
deduction,
at
but
the
it wasn't.
beginning, so it like a social deduction game. You know who you are and which side you are on, and you're supposed to be working with people to do specific goals. Maybe each faction has completely different goals, and you're trying to do those to fruition. But you don't know exactly who's trying to help you with those goals and who are trying to stop you. And maybe there are specific reasons that people would want to look like they're helping you. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be fun.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. It's just a lot of things have been implemented in this genre. So
Yeah. Is there a specific thing that you don't like about Dudes on a Map games?
dice.
You just said that was your favorite thing.
I
And
know,
it's your
I hate
least
it.
favorite thing.
I hate it and I love it. if when the dice are mean to you, they're just absolutely mean, and they're jerks, and they're unforgiving, and they don't apologize, and they say bad things about your mom and everything. They're just like terrible people. And then when they're nice to you, they make cookies and they tuck you in, and they also get you milk with your cookies. I mean, it's a delicious, beautiful thing. Or they just bring you cheese that's supposed to be chicken, but it's cheese, and it's just a lot of great stuff. But I love it and I hate it. It's the dice. That's why I love that. Nothing will tick me off more.
One of the things I love but also hate about these games are a lot of times they don't allow you to have like actual alliances. Like you can't solidly team up with someone. Like in Blood Rage, you cannot you can't be on the same team as someone in Blood Rage. In Twilight Imperium, you cannot be on the same team as someone. In Risk, you cannot be. You can kind of say you're not going to attack each other.
You can kind of on Twilight Imperium though.
Yeah,
because we all teamed up against you.
But only one person won that game. Only when the games normally only have
one
like winner.
Team victory.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I really enjoy the fact that happens, but I also hate when everybody goes like. I mean, it balances the game. Like if someone's running away, everybody else has a chance to stomp them down. I kind of hate sometimes how Kingmaker can happen in these games. Like if someone's like, I'm not going to win the game, but I'm going to attack you here just to screw you anyway. I mean, that kind of sucks sometimes. But yeah. I still really enjoy the fact of these. I mean, you never really know who you can trust and what you can do and what you can't, because it's like, it would be really nice if I didn't have to guard this border as much as I can't have to, because I mean Rob's over there. Rob says we're friends. He says we're gonna be okay.
Friends with you.
He said we're gonna be good. He said you go this way, I'll go that way. But I think he's looking at my provinces over here and my lands, and he's thinking they're too juicy. I need to keep my defenses up, but I really wish I could have those units on the front lines fighting mad over here. But I don't think I can. I don't think I can leave myself weak to Rob, because he will strike. And I don't know. It's interesting. I hate it and I love it at the same time. So there's been so many times where I've talked to people being like, we're not going to fight. We're going to do this. We're going to be okay. And they just stomp me into the ground. I'm like, you lied to me. I hate it, but I love it. But yeah, good times. What do you think, Matt?
No. It's really tough to say, because there is so much that I don't like about certain games.
Yeah. Direct confrontation where you have to fight to win.
I mean, it's okay, I think, if it's set up appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily feel like the biggest dick for just being like, I need this, sorry, and just take all your cookies.
Do you feel bad about that? About like stomping over people's stuff?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at that empire you built.
Because it's like, most of the time with these games, the games take so long.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't feel bad about turtling up in that corner when we played Forbidden Stars last and just completely stopping me from...
But he didn't take our things. He just stopped us from taking his things.
Everybody. I didn't.
Okay,
I didn't.
But you took all of his things, Roy. You jaded Matt. You went in there and you took all of Matt's stuff.
I got this close to taking all of Matt's stuff.
I'm not winning anymore. I'm not gonna. No. And so Matt literally, because where my next objective was like, in Matt's, and it completely wrecked me. And you did that.
I had a little house, and I had a toy box, and I had all my toys in it, and I was playing, and Roy just came in and just took my toys and then walked outside, and I was just like, no one gets in my house anymore.
And that's the thing, is like, that's the rules of the game. Like, if we're all like, a lot of these games you can build up and turtle up and like make your stuff better, but like if no one goes for the V, the game's never gonna end, you know? So like the rules of the game say you have to stomp each other's sandcastles. Like, and people don't like it when they get their sandcastles stomped. It also is abrasive when you have to go stomp someone's sandcastle.
Hard work on that sandcastle.
It's one of those things that
sometimes that sandcastle I just want to move into.
If a game lasts an hour or two, like Blood Rage, let's fight, let's get bloody. If a game lasts 4 to 6 hours, I just don't. Like I don't want to do it because I feel like there are so many games that can become so unbalanced so quickly. Because it's like if you come in and just like push my shit in, and you're like, okay,
Now I have your resources and my
yeah,
resources.
and I'm just like, cool, I'm just out of the game, but I have to sit here for 4 more hours, which is great, I guess, because it's like, and I mean, even smaller games can do that. Like the last time we played Tiny Epic Kingdoms, like you just came in and you're like, cool, this forest is mine, and I was just like, whoa,
that shouldn't be
that was
yours.
all I had. Wow, I have no way to generate anything, and I was just like, man, I am out of this game. But on the upside, Tiny Epic Kingdoms takes 15 minutes, so you're like, oh, cool, everything's
a lot
fine.
of these games have to like someone has to do that. Like someone has to be the bully and smash in through stuff for the game to end and for the game to progress.
Fine. I just wish there were an option for people who once they've just got to a wall can go, all right, guys, cool. I'm gonna go play Rhino Hero, and try to
you
have
have a
fun.
secret objective that says you win the game, but you don't win the game. I built a pretty thing, so now I win, right?
It's like I don't necessarily care because it's like at that point I am doing so poorly and I'm so far behind. Like an AI could take over and still just do exactly what I'm going to do. Because at that point, it relegates me to king making, or it relegates me to being a thorn in everybody else's side. Because there's literally no way I can come back.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, I can see that.
And that's my issue is the longer games have that tendency to like push you into that thing where it's either like you just don't care so you don't do anything, or you go, hey, these are my options, I can just make everybody else's day awful, or I could extend the game for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you're like, man.
And sometimes you end up getting played as the victim. They're just coming to take all my stuff from all sides. Jerks.
Yeah. It's okay.
Awesome. So if you had to pick a Dudes on a Map game, what is your favorite Dudes on a Map game, and is it going to be everybody's favorite game?
Is this like Desert Island? You can only take one with you.
Sure, why not?
I'd probably take Risk Legacy.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
On a desert island?
Yeah.
Like one copy?
Well, I'd bring like 4 or 5 copies.
Hopefully he's not
Robert
going
has
to be on the desert island for that
ripping
long.
stuff up. He's like, okay, we killed this thing here. Just keep everything in the same format.
As much as I love Game of Thrones and stuff like that, and have the listeners. First of all, thank you for listening, but have the listeners complain or whatever. I don't think of Dudes on a Map with Game of Thrones. I just really like Risk Legacy. If
Send
it wasn't
your
Risk
emails
Legacy,
to Robert Newman at. No, I'm just kidding.
No. If it's not Risk Legacy, then it would probably be Axis and Allies. Because Axis and Allies is 4X. You have the economy, you have the research, you're trying to do alliances, you can break history and do things that weren't done that way, and it just offers a lot. And there's also a lot of plastic pieces, and it's a lot of fun. I really like those types of games because, they're just, I don't know, they're good. They're my favorite. So Axis and Allies or Risk Legacy.
Provided we had enough people to play it. If it was lots of people on the desert island, it would definitely be Twilight Imperium. So, because literally, you would start playing the game, and the rescue ships would be there by the time you even finish.
But see, that's why you don't want that game, because you'd be like, hold on, do one more lap, come back, we're almost done. Do one more lap. Because
we really can't just pick this board up and move it onto the ship. Like, we gotta finish here.
And by the end of your second game, like actual civilization will have just annexed the island. They would already be there. So, hey, we're building a resort. Can you guys move the table?
No,
build around.
We're fighting a galaxy. But yeah, I just love I think spaceships on a map still counts as dudes in on map, but
plastic on a map.
But yeah, I've talked about that game a ton. I just love the feeling of all the things in the game, just because it's very broad in the things that it does. It does a lot of things well.
And it does it well, yeah.
So, what do you think,
Matt? It's literally the science fiction version of Axis and Allies.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rhino Hero is my favorite Dudes on a Map game.
That's Dude on a Tower
Hold on.
game?
Hold on. Rhino Hero now more than Junkart?
Well, no, I think Junkart's better, but
or Goku Ku.
You heard it here first.
I'm sorry. What was between
Goku Ku and Rhino Hero? That's tough.
That is tough.
And this is really tough. Haba is a freaking phenomenal company when you're having conversations like this.
Blood Rage is my actual answer.
Right.
But
wasn't that your answer for best family game when we did that episode?
Absolutely. Blood Rage best game. I mean, it's a great time to teach your kids about like Norwegian heritage and tradition and trolls and what they do.
I'm just hoping I'm not making you guys hate Blood Rage because it's making me hate.
No, I love Blood Rage.
No, I'll play Blood Rage right now. I don't see. That's the thing about Blood Rage. I don't even care if I'm losing. I'm just like, hey,
yeah, cool things.
Yeah.
I was just trying to beat Roy that game. And I didn't draw any quests, and that's what made me mad. Because to win that game,
it's bad when they're just like, "We're not counting up the points. We don't care. We're not counting up the points." I'm like, "But I want to know how much. We're not counting up the points." Roy, you won. I'm like, "But I want to know. I want to know how close we were." No, we're not counting up the points.
Hold on. You still counted the points up.
At least mine. I counted mine. I wasn't gonna count everybody else's up.
I mean, I think this is probably one of the closest games that I was to you.
I feel like that one game we had before that, I was trying to do a lot of attacking and less quests. I still won the game, but it was really close in between me and you. The game before that, because you were like ahead the whole like first half of the game. So,
was I even there for that game, or was that the game I came in like round 3?
Yes, it was the game you came in round 3, Rob.
Oh yeah.
I still think Robin ended up doing really good in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I came in 3rd. Yeah.
Poor Ortiz.
And AJ.
Yeah.
So anyway, real quick, Goku Ku or Rhino Hero?
I like Rhino Hero better. I think Goku Ku is solid, but I just really like the simplicity of like the building up of the tower. I think Goku Ku looks cool and stuff, but I don't get as tense in Goku Ku. Maybe it's just the last time I played.
I don't know if it's still like.
I haven't played it like with Rob yet. Maybe that's where I'm missing. I haven't played it with Rob.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because it's like Cult of the New or whatever, but man, bro, we had so much fun with Goku Ku.
We did.
We've had so much fun with Rhino Hero, and I'll always love that game. But I like the components better for Goku Ku. I like the art a little bit better, even though it's sort of the same. And it's really just the can, but. I don't know, Goku.
You like it better than like the little animals inside the buildings? Come on, man.
Here's the thing.
Come on.
Here's the thing. To me, Junkart replaces Rhino Hero. I love Rhino Hero.
Well, I mean,
Junkart replaces Rhino Hero. So now if I had to choose, I'd rather have Goku Ku because it's different than Junkart. And so Junkart's my new Rhino Hero, so I'd rather have Goku Ku and Junkart
How
than
many Rhino Heroes MSRP could you get for Junkart's MSRP?
4.
But here's the thing. Since I've had Junkart, I've had more non-gamers play that game with me than I've had gamers play Rhino Hero with me. And I've tried to get my family, who are all New Yorkers, they just want to play cards in Canasta all day. They won't touch Rhino Hero. And I've asked them to play it. They won't touch it. But when it came to Junkart, like I told you guys, when they came down, we played 10 plus times. They were all over it. Yeah, and so it's just like it's appealing. It's really beautiful. It's good, strong, quality components, and it's something that a lot of people that can relate to. Rhino Hero is cute. We're nerds and we're fanboys, and so we enjoy it. But it's cute. Grown adults, like I said, my brother-in-law is a contractor. He doesn't like the cute little kid game. Wasn't so appealing to him. But trying to screw people over and build a strong tower and all that stuff, that was appealing.
Well, the other thing is the varied amount of pieces in Junkart compared to the simple tower in Rhino
and
Hero.
the 12 different game modes you can play with Junkart.
I'm definitely saying Junkart is a better game than Rhino Hero. Obviously, duh. But the price value is way different. So
I think I'll have to lean with Rob on this one and say Goku Ku currently is a little bit better. I think it might change whenever they come out with that Rhino Hero expansion.
I just need the Goku Ku with Rob experience.
Yeah, I think
that might push me over the edge.
You do need that, but Matt, say this beautiful stuff right here. What are you saying?
I think it might swing back whenever they come out with that Rhino Hero expansion that Leo was talking about.
Yes.
Or the things or whatever it was, like where there's like a different way to do things.
Yeah.
Like
she said like the second Rhino Hero. Yeah, I don't know if it's an
there's
expansion.
I mean, it doesn't matter as long as there's like a shift in gameplay. Like that to me is very exciting and intriguing. Another reason I really like Goku cleanup is super simple.
Yeah.
Rhino Hero, that tower falls, there are cards everywhere. Who knows where you're going to find them, if you're going to find them. But Goku, something falls, you're like, cool, one thing fell. Neat, grab. And then when you want to clean it up, you just dump everything out and then scoop it back into the little metal tin. And you're like, yay! It's great.
Is it bad that I hide my Goku so my daughter can't play it?
She loves the eggs yet, has she?
No. And ever since she literally went to bed with him that one night, we haven't pulled it out since. Because I'm like, no, baby, no.
We can't.
Even though I bought this game for you, it's not yours. This is Daddy's game.
Oh, man.
Awesome, guys. Well, that was Dudes on a Map. This has been a podcast. Thanks so much for checking us out. We stream these Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Matt, what was your game?
What?
Blood Rage.
Blood Rage, okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
we just wax poetic over Haba games.
Tons and tons of fun. Make sure to hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at Epic Gaming Night. If you have any emails, questions, want me to hassle Rob about something, hit us up, epicgamingnight at gmail.com. But
all those emails hassle him about Greece.
Yeah, these are on YouTube. This is youtube.com/c/Epic Gaming Night. We have t-shirts on analoggamer.com/Epic Gaming Night. We've got one that has like our Epic Gaming Night logo on it, and then our 4X one. Yeah.
We also have dice. We did a contest. Hopefully we'll be doing another contest in the future. We got a lot of stuff going on. And we have Colby Dauk coming on the podcast next week.
And if you don't know who Colby Dauk is,
you're stupid. In the bad way.
He is he's the guy that made Rob's favorite company. So Mr. Summoner Wars himself. Mr. What is it?
Games.
Hero Scapers. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Good times. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for checking us out.
Man, Junkrat. I'd play Junkrat right now.
Yeah. I would if it wasn't just cripplingly lonely playing it by yourself.
I would try not to be a jerk.
Bro, what if it was not lonely, though, and you just like try to build it as tall as you could?
I mean, I suppose, but I probably should take a shower and, like, prep for work tomorrow. Eat a slice of cake and go to bed.
Awesome, guys.
I made a vanilla bourbon cake.
Thanks, everybody who checked this video out. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys next time.
Is it, like, moist?